Hi, this is ZvP on Colosseum, and as you can see, my opponent is 24 points away from my minus. There's not really so much to ZvP on this map. You get easy 3 expansions and very easy 3 gas, which means that you can play very powerfully even if you only have 3 bases. However, you also got to remember that your opponent gets quite easy 3 bases, and if that happens, then you got to be careful not to be too arrogant on what he can get. Often a Protoss might get like a 3 base and mass up like near 200 supply army and move out, and it will be very hard to stop since it comes out so quickly and all. Sometimes you only gotta defend until you get like higher tech or something, but you also there are many ways you can play in this map, but one thing is that if you get a powerful contain on a Protoss in this map, it means that you pretty much win, since you have all that high ground, you have the space to move around, and he gotta fit through some very small gap and fight against high ground lurkers and hydras and whatever else you can think of, and that's really something a Protoss just cannot do. Of course, against good Protosses, it's almost impossible to get a good contain unless you wanna gamble your whole game into it. But if it happens, then it's very good for you. Also, when it's kind of hard to take new expansions since this map is completely divided to 3 and there are long distances between the expansions besides your first 3 expansions. But if you do get an expansion, it's very easy to defend due to all the high ground and all the creep colonies that provide you easy sunkening up and so on. And all that stuff, it makes it so much easier to just defend and so on. You may have noticed that I started at 12 pull instead of 12 hatch. That was simply for the reason that I saw that his probe was over here, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to 12 hatch anymore since it would be there to stop it and pylon block and whatever else. That's why I started at 12 pull, so that I don't get any useless minerals and I can take whatever advantage I can instead of wasting my money. Also, I sent a drone to my second expansion instead of my natural right away when I noticed he was gonna block my natural, and he built a pylon over there. So instead of being slowed down by the pylon and with my expansion, I simply I just place it over there instead, and I'm just gonna place it to another hatchery to my natural whenever I can, and that works to my advantage. You may have noticed that I kinda tried to micro against that probe a lot and all. That's simply for the reason that for one, it was low HP, so like two successful hits like after each other might kill the probe. And secondly, if I keep microing against the probe, it's far easier to kind of like get the probe off cards if you wanna if you wanna like place a hatchery. Sometimes if you just take your drone to the hatchery location, he will be kind of prepared for it and be blocking there. But if you're microing against it, the moment it moves away or to the wrong direction, you have a freedom to place your hatchery normally. Over here, I did a 12 pull, and because he was careless, like this is what so many Protosses do, even in PvZ myself, I sometimes forget how big of a deal it is to 12 pull. Like even if I 12 pull, they still gotta cut quite a few probes if they wanna defend, be safe against the Ling Rush and so on. Like over here, I expect that he probably started his cannons when he had like maybe 15, 16 supply or something. Like that's pretty normal, but he's not really cutting probes. Well, I still got links inside. Like I ran my links over here as quick as simply possible, and I was able to get some links inside. Like I noticed with my overlord that his cannons were still far away from morphing, and I was able to get like 5 zerglings and slow him down a bit. So that's a really big deal. Over here, I was very careless to let that probe inside my base. Like I should have remembered that low HP probe was still roaming around over there somewhere, but it happened. And now that he knows pretty much precisely what I have and what I do, he really doesn't have to prepare so much, and he will know what I'm gonna do. So it's gonna make a big difference, really. Like that shouldn't have happened if simply possible. Of course, since I got so many probes and his tech is probably much later due to that fact, I'm still quite far ahead. But it still matters a lot if he gets a probe inside and all. At this point, I just place my Spire and drone up as much as possible. Get my second gas. I get my second gas at my second expansion just for this, just so that he doesn't know what I'm getting. Like if he doesn't see a second gas, it's unlikely that I will get mutas. But if he does see a second gas, it means that I might get mutas, and if I have one over there, then it means that he might be caught off guard. Over here he was able to bring Ahzz out. It was kind of careless of me not to have any defense against it. However, it's not such a big deal. He will just get a few hits on my expansion hatchery instead of just me mining all the time over there. I'm just gonna main out my drones back later on. So you really gotta be sure not to sunken up any more than simply needed. Like, it really does make a huge difference if you make useless sunken colonies or zerglings. I get so much better economy if I don't need it to do any of that, and so on. Now that I have the sunken colony and I have some extra zerglings to fend off whatever zealot pressure that he might do, I'm kind of taking it easy, droning up again, making sure that I have larva for mutas later on, and whatever else. Also, you're gonna notice that since it's pretty obvious that he's gonna make Corsair, and as he just did, then you're gonna make Scourge beforehand. Like, along with your first few mutas, you make a couple of Scourge, and with those you can take down his Corsairs while you harass with mutas, and those 2-3 Corsairs that are behind the cannons no longer are such a big problem if your mutas take the cannon hits, and then those 4 Corsairs just own those those four Scourge just own those Corsairs, and so on. Right now I cannot really attack with only 4 mutas, since it's quite likely that he will have cannons. It was pretty obvious since he had that probe scout that saw everything, and that zealot that saw the second gas, and so on. However, now that I have like 6-7 mutas, I'm able to do that. Now that as you can see, these 4 Scourge really did devastating damage against his Corsair. Like, even if I won't get so many probes, I still kill so many Corsairs for free, and I forced him to cannon up a bit more aggressively, be a bit more careful, so it's totally worth it. At this point, you gotta remember, even though I'm now able to build units, I still gotta remember that I do not have perfect drone saturation. For a while, it might be really fine actually to not have perfect drone saturation, but later on it's gonna be a big factor. So I really gotta be careful of that. I have enough drones later on. Like, at this point I might mass up for a while of Hydras and Midas and Lurkers and whatever else, but later on I'm gonna need drones, and that's what many new players often do mistakes on. They have way too few drones, or they have like good drone saturation at first 10 minutes, and then later on they forget to build more drones after they're done with their thing or something. For example, once they start to mass units, they just completely forget about the ideal amount of drones and so on. I figured that I see if I can still harass him and whatever, but I noticed that he has way too many Corsair, so I cannot go over there. I shouldn't damage those mutas uselessly. I'm also gonna make a couple of Scourge, since if those 3 Corsair or 3 or more Corsairs just suddenly come out of nowhere, it's gonna be very good if I have like plenty of Scourge beforehand, so that I'm able to kind of like take them out right away when he's off guard, kind of like, oh yeah, I'm killing his Mutalisks, and then you suddenly come with like 6 Scourge and totally rape his Corsairs. It's gonna be great. I made some hydras beforehand for lurkers. My mistake over here was that I didn't. I just drawn up at this point completely. Like at this point, I should have had maybe one group of zerglings as an extra, so that I can defend against his attack. Now that he comes over here, so that really was a mistake by me. That shouldn't have really happened. If and